NASA didn't begin by looking up at the stars. Their very first missions aimed straight down into the pitch-black ocean. When the agency was founded in 1958, its original mandate was to test the absolute limits of human survival. That meant putting astronauts at the bottom of the sea. Look at this 3D comparison. It shows we have successfully mapped 100% of the surface of the Moon and Mars, yet we've charted less than 10% of our own ocean floor. Why would an agency with limitless ambition and billions in funding suddenly abandon the abyss right beneath their feet just to stare at the sky? NASA's retreat from the deep was a calculated response to a series of engineering failures and acoustic anomalies that suggested the abyss was a dead end for human exploration. Back in the 1960s, NASA actively collaborated with the U.S. Navy. They engineered massive underwater habitats designed to keep humans alive for weeks in some of the harshest environments on Earth. This diagram illustrates the mathematical reality of hydrostatic pressure. In the vacuum of outer space, an astronaut's suit only has to manage a difference of 1 atmosphere. But at the bottom of the ocean, the water exerts a crushing force of over 1,000 atmospheres. That kind of force takes a severe toll on the human body. The aquanauts living in these early deep-sea stations suffered from nitrogen narcosis, a condition that caused severe mental delirium in the pitch black. To keep their lungs from collapsing, crews had to breathe artificial gas mixtures. These specialized atmospheres physically deformed their vocal cords, making communication nearly impossible while further degrading their psychological state. The initial telemetry told NASA exactly what they needed to know. The deep ocean is significantly more hostile and immediately lethal to humans than the empty vacuum of space. In the late 60s, NASA's underwater sonar networks began logging massive acoustic signals that current technology couldn't explain. These were not glitches, they were signatures of something immense moving in the dark. Decades later, the 1997 bloop confirmed these early suspicions. The graph displays ultra-low frequency waves peaking violently. To produce an acoustic footprint this massive, the sound requires a biological energy source vastly larger than any known marine life. Faced with these unexplained signals and the lethality of the deep, the government executed a permanent bureaucratic split in 1970. President Nixon formally stripped NASA of its oceanic mandate, handing the remains of the project to the newly formed NOAA. Look at this side-by-side bar chart showing today's federal funding. A towering $25 billion column allocated for NASA to search for traces of water on Mars completely dwarfs the $6.5 billion column given to NOAA to study our own planet's water. That massive financial gap paints a clear picture. The government is willing to pay to monitor the ocean's surface from a safe distance, but it has no interest in funding human exploration into its depths. The ultimate barrier lies below 6,000 meters, in the Hadal zone. Here, physical conditions are so extreme that normal biological proteins simply disintegrate. Getting data out of this zone is an engineering nightmare. Thick, high-pressure saltwater entirely blocks ambient light. It completely absorbs standard radio frequencies, and the crushing environment actively destroys the structural integrity of mechanical equipment. This split-screen animation illustrates signal degradation. On the left, a radio wave easily travels from Earth to a Mars rover through the vacuum of space. On the right, sending a signal into the Mariana Trench results in immediate scattering. Space is cold, vast, and empty, but it is mathematically predictable. The deep ocean, however, is a chaotic, highly corrosive fluid environment that ruthlessly digests any technology we drop into it. NASA ultimately looked to the stars because it is strictly easier to escape Earth's gravity than it is to survive its abyssal depths. Let me know in the comments if you think this was purely an unsolvable physics problem or a calculated cover-up. And if you're curious about what happens when these two worlds collide, check out our next video where we break down NASA's upcoming mission to drill directly into the subsurface ocean of Jupiter's moon, Europa.